the moment of regret and the promise of control. We have all been inhabitants of that fleeting, yet profoundly impactful, moment that seems to exist outside of time. It is the moment after the sharp word has left your lips but before the other person has fully registered it. It is the millisecond after you hit send on the angry email, when your finger is still on the mouse, and a cold wave of recognition washes over you. It is the silent, hollow space that follows a slammed door, filled only with the echo of your own temper. In this moment, we feel a peculiar form of powerlessness, not at the hands of another, but at the mercy of our own internal wiring. We were hijacked. Our better judgment was offline, and a more primitive, frantic version of ourselves took the controls. This experience is universal because it is fundamentally human. It is the price of having a brain equipped with a sophisticated, lightning-fast survival system. But what if this hijacking wasn't an inevitability? What if the gap between trigger and reaction could be widened from a near-instantaneous spark to a spacious arena where choice resides? What if, instead of being a passenger on a runaway emotional train, you could become the skilled conductor, aware of the tracks, in control of the throttle, and capable of steering calmly towards your desired destination? This is not a promise of a life devoid of emotion. That would be a gray, impoverished existence. Emotions are the brilliant colors of our human experience. They provide vital information, fuel passion, and connect us to others. The goal is not to eliminate the storm, but to learn to sail within it. The goal is to build a vessel so seaworthy that you can navigate any tempest, not by hoping for calm seas, but by developing an unshakable confidence in your own ability to handle the waves. Welcome to a deep exploration of your mind's inner architecture. I am S.T.O.P, and this journey is dedicated to practical psychology, the actionable science of building a stronger, more adaptable, and more resilient mind. Today, we embark on a detailed expedition to understand the crucial dichotomy between the knee-jerk reaction and the considered response. We will map the neurological terrain, identify the hidden tripwires of our past, and, most importantly, construct a practical, step-by-step framework, the S.T.O.P and choose method, to facilitate this profound shift. This is not about suppressing who you are, it's about empowering the wisest, most intentional version of you to take the lead. Part 1, the two governing systems of your mind, surge mode versus anchor mode. To master our internal world, we must first understand its fundamental governance. Imagine your mind not as a monolithic entity, but as an advanced operating system with two primary settings, each with its own command center, priorities, and protocols. 1.1 Surge Mode, the Ancient Guardian. Surge mode is your mind's first responder, its ancient, hypervigilant guardian. This system is evolutionary old, shared with our ancestors who lived in a world of immediate physical threats. Its primary, and singular, objective is survival. To achieve this, it prioritizes speed above all else. The analogy: think of surge mode as a highly sensitive, perfectly calibrated motion detection system guarding a priceless museum. Its job is to detect any potential breach. The problem is, it's so sensitive that it can't distinguish between a cat jumping on a windowsill, a balloon floating by, and an actual thief breaking in. In every case, its protocol is the same: sound the deafening alarm, flash the blinding lights, and seal all the doors. It's effective at making sure nothing gets stolen, but it creates chaos over minor, non-threatening events. In our modern lives, the cat on the windowsill might be a terse email from a colleague, the floating balloon could be a casual comment from a partner. But surge mode treats them all like a life-threatening thief, triggering a full-scale physiological alarm. The neuroscience of the surge: the star player in surge mode is the amygdala, two small, almond-shaped clusters of neurons deep within the brain's temporal lobes. The amygdala is your brain's alarm system. When it perceives a threat, whether a physical danger like a swerving car or a social threat like an insult, it initiates a cascade of events known as the fight or flight, or freeze, response. It sends a distress signal to the hypothalamus, which communicates with the rest of the body through the autonomic nervous system. This triggers the release of adrenaline and cortisol into your bloodstream. Your heart rate and blood pressure skyrocket to pump oxygen-rich blood to your muscles. Your breathing becomes rapid and shallow to take in more oxygen. Blood is diverted away from non-essential systems like your digestive tract, hence the knot in your stomach, and towards your limbs. Your pupils dilate to improve vision. Your higher cognitive functions, housed in the prefrontal cortex, are effectively dialed down. The brain, in its wisdom, decides that in a life-or-death moment, you don't need to ponder philosophical nuances or draft a diplomatic email. You need to fight, flee, or freeze. This is why, in the heat of the moment, you can't think straight. You are quite literally operating from a brain that has temporarily sidelined rational thought in favor of raw, impulsive action. The consequences of surge mode: while this system is brilliant for escaping predators, it is disastrous for navigating complex social and professional landscapes. In surge mode, you say things you don't mean because the filter is offline. You make impulsive decisions you later regret. Your perception narrows to the perceived threat, blinding you to context, nuance, and the other person's perspective. You act in ways that are misaligned with your core values and long-term goals. The version of you that emerges in surge mode is not your wisest self, it is your most scared and defensive self. 1.2 Anchor mode, the modern commander. Anchor mode is the complement to surge mode, the modern, strategic commander of your mind. If surge mode is the reactive, emotional heart of the operation, anchor mode is the proactive, rational mind. This system is evolutionarily newer and is most developed in humans. The analogy: anchor mode is the seasoned fire marshal who arrives at the scene of the blaring alarm. While the alarm screams, "Fire," the marshal doesn't immediately start spraying water everywhere. Instead, they calmly assess the situation. They look for smoke, check for heat, and investigate the source. Often, they discover burnt toast and calmly deactivate the alarm. If there is a real fire, they deploy a precise, targeted response to contain and extinguish it. Anchor mode doesn't ignore threats, it evaluates them with precision and responds with measured effectiveness. The neuroscience of the anchor: the command center for anchor mode is the prefrontal cortex, PFC, located directly behind your forehead. This brain region is the seat of executive functions, which include rational decision-making, weighing pros and cons, considering long-term consequences. Emotional regulation, managing and modulating emotional responses. Impulse control, the ability to resist urges and delay gratification. Planning and foresight, envisioning future outcomes based on current actions. Empathy, understanding the mental and emotional states of others. When your prefrontal cortex is online, you are not at the mercy of your impulses. You can pause. You can reflect. You can see the bigger picture. You can access your wise self, the version of you that embodies your deepest values, your compassion, and your strategic intelligence. The ultimate aim of emotional mastery is not to live exclusively in anchor mode. That would be impossible, as the amygdala's alarm is a crucial part of our survival toolkit. The goal is to create a healthy partnership where the amygdala signals a potential threat, but the prefrontal cortex has the final say on how to respond. It's about upgrading the system so the fire marshal is always notified and can override the panicked alarm. Part 2: The Hidden Blueprint: Mapping Your Emotional Tripwires. The journey from surge to anchor requires a deep understanding of what provokes the surge in the first place. These provocations are what we call emotional tripwires. A tripwire is any stimulus, a word, a tone of voice, a specific situation, a type of behavior, or even a facial expression, that triggers an immediate, intense, and often disproportionate emotional reaction. It's the cat on the windowsill that your brain mistakes for a thief. 2.1 The Origin of Tripwires: Ghosts in the Machine. Why do tripwires have so much power? Because they are rarely just about the present moment. They are often connected to unhealed wounds, unresolved conflicts, or formative experiences from our past. Your brain is a brilliant pattern-matching machine. When a current situation even vaguely resembles a past event that was painful, frightening, or shaming, the amygdala sounds the alarm based on that old, stored data. It's as if a ghost from your past has momentarily taken the wheel. Examples of tripwire origins. A boss speaking to you in a condescending tone might trigger a surge of shame and anger, not because of the boss's words themselves, but because it's the same tone your critical parent used throughout your childhood. A partner needing some space might trigger a surge of abandonment anxiety, not because of the current, healthy relationship, but because it echoes the feeling of being ignored or left as a child. A colleague questioning your idea in a meeting might trigger a surge of defensiveness and insecurity because it mirrors the experience of being belittled by a sibling or a school bully. These tripwires are laid down through a process of classical and emotional conditioning. They are the neural shortcuts your brain created to protect you from past pain. The problem is, these shortcuts often become outdated, firing in situations where they are no longer helpful, causing you to react to a ghost instead of the person in front of you. 2.2 The body as the first messenger, learning the language of sensation. Your conscious mind might be the last to know you've been triggered, but your body is the first. Before you can formulate the thought, "I am angry," your body has already launched a complex physiological sequence. Becoming emotionally literate requires learning to read this somatic alphabet. A detailed catalog of early warning signals. Cardiovascular shifts. You may feel your heart pounding against your ribcage, palpitations, or a general tightness in your chest. Your face and ears may feel hot and flushed as blood rushes to the surface. Musculoskeletal tension. The body prepares for action by priming the muscles. This manifests as a clenched jaw, tightened shoulders, hunching towards the ears, balled-up fists, a stiff neck, or a general feeling of being wound up and rigid. Respiratory changes. Breathing becomes rapid, shallow, and high in the chest. You might find yourself holding your breath or sighing frequently as the body tries to manage oxygen and carbon dioxide levels. Visceral sensations. The gut, often called the second brain, is highly sensitive to emotional states. You might feel a knot, butterflies, churning, or nausea in your stomach. Thermoregulatory shifts. A sudden wave of heat or, conversely, a cold chill. Subtle cues. Dry mouth, trembling in the hands or lips, sweating, especially on the palms or forehead, a tense smile, or difficulty maintaining eye contact. The practice of interoception, the perception of sensations from inside the body, is the foundational skill of emotional regulation. By honing this skill, you can catch the surge in its earliest stages, when it is still a manageable wave of sensation rather than a tsunami of reaction. Part 3, the S.T.O.P and Choose Method, a comprehensive framework for mastery. Knowing about surge mode and tripwires is the theory. The S.T.O.P and Choose Method is the practice. It is a cognitive behavioral toolkit designed to insert a wedge of awareness between the trigger and your response, creating the space for anchor mode to engage. Let's explore each step in profound detail. Step 1, Stop and scan. This is the most critical, non-negotiable first step. You cannot change a reaction that is already in motion. You must first halt the momentum. The stop action. The moment you detect one of your body's early warning signals, you must commit a conscious act of interruption. This can be a micropause, literally freezing for 1 second before you speak or act. A physical anchor, placing your feet flat on the floor and feeling the ground beneath you. Pressing your fingertips together. Taking a slow, deliberate sip of water. A verbal cue, internal saying to yourself, stop. Pause. Breathe. A tactical retreat, if possible, physically removing yourself from the situation. I need a moment to process this, can we take 5 minutes? This is not running away, it is a strategic withdrawal to regroup. The scan action. Once you have stopped the external momentum, turn your attention inward. Perform a quick, internal body scan. Ask yourself, what is happening in my body right now? Is my jaw tight? Is my breath shallow? Is my heart racing? Where is the tension located? This scan solidifies your awareness, pulling you out of the narrative of the conflict and into the reality of your physical experience. It grounds you in the present moment. Step 2, tune into the emotion. With the initial surge paused, you now have the cognitive space to identify the specific emotion you are experiencing. Emotions are data. Naming them is the first step in understanding that data. Step 3, observe the source. This is the step of compassionate curiosity. Now that you know what you are feeling, you must investigate why you are feeling it so intensely. The 2 layers of inquiry. 1. The present layer. What, specifically, about the current situation is triggering me? Was it the specific words used? The tone? The context? Try to describe it as objectively as possible, like a journalist reporting the facts. 2. The past layer. This is the deeper work. Ask yourself, does this situation feel familiar? When have I felt this way before? What older wound, memory, or belief is this touching upon? Example, my partner didn't text me back. My present layer trigger is the lack of communication. But my past layer trigger is the deep-seated belief from childhood that I am not important enough to be remembered. This current event is a spark landing on the dry tinder of that old story. Separating the past from the present, the goal of this observation is to unhook the past charge from the present event. By recognizing, this is my old abandonment wound being activated, you can begin to relate to the current situation more objectively. You can ask, is my partner actually abandoning me, or are they just busy at work? This process drains the emotional intensity from the current event, allowing you to see it more clearly. Step 4P, pivot to possibilities. With a clearer understanding of the emotion and its source, you are no longer a captive with only one option, the reactive surge. You are now a strategist in a room full of doors. This step is about mentally opening all those doors and considering your options. Brainstorming without judgment, give yourself permission to think of every possible response, from the passive to the aggressive, from the silent to the confrontational. Option 1, say nothing and stew in resentment. Option 2, send a sarcastic or angry message. Option 3, wait and address the issue calmly and directly later. Option 4, write down your feelings in a journal to process them first. Option 5, seek clarification. When you said X, I felt Y. Can you help me understand what you meant? The key here is not to judge the options as good or bad yet, but simply to acknowledge that they exist. This cognitive flexibility is a hallmark of anchor mode. Step 5, choose your action. This is the moment of empowered execution. It is the point where you move from being a reactor to being a creator of your experience. This choice is guided by your values and your goals. The guiding questions: before selecting your response, consult your inner compass. Which of these options best aligns with my core values, e.g., integrity, compassion, respect? Which response is most likely to lead to the outcome I truly want, e.g., a stronger relationship, a resolved conflict, mutual understanding? What would my wise self, the calm, compassionate, and strong version of me, do in this situation? The conscious engagement: having selected the most skillful response, you now engage. You have the conversation. You send the measured email. You take the walk to cool down. The crucial difference is that this action is no longer a reflexive spasm. It is a deliberate, chosen behavior. You are acting on purpose, rather than on impulse. Part 4, the laboratory of life, applying the framework. Let's return to our earlier example and expand upon it, viewing it through the detailed lens of our framework. Scenario: you are in a crucial project meeting. You have just finished explaining a complex, innovative idea you've been developing for weeks. There's a moment of silence, and then your colleague, Sarah, chimes in. That's a great direction. To build on that, I think we should. And she proceeds to repackage your entire idea, presenting it as her own brainstorm. The team nods along, impressed. Surge mode reaction. Body, your face flushes with heat. Your heart hammers against your chest. You feel a tight knot form in your stomach. Your jaw clenches so tight it aches. Thoughts, she's stealing my idea. How dare she? They're all buying it. I look like a fool. I have to say something now. Action, you interrupt, your voice sharp and trembling. Actually, Sarah, that was my idea. I just explained it. Maybe you weren't listening. The room falls into an uncomfortable silence. Sarah looks mortified and defensive. The meeting atmosphere is now poisoned with tension. You may have won the point, but you've lost credibility, damaged a collegial relationship, and made yourself look volatile. S.T.O.P and choose response. S. Stop and scan. You feel the intense heat in your face and the clenching in your jaw. You consciously place your feet flat on the floor, feeling the solid ground. You take one slow, deep breath into your belly, disguising it as a thoughtful pause. T. Tune into the emotion. Internally, you label the storm. I am feeling furious. I feel betrayed and completely disrespected. There's also a layer of panic. I'm afraid of not getting credit for my work. Oh, observe the source, you get curious. Why is this hitting me so hard? Ah, this reminds me of in school when a partner took credit for my work on a group project and got the praise I deserved. It made me feel invisible and powerless. That's the old wound this is poking. Is Sarah intentionally trying to sabotage me, or is she just poorly communicating her attempt to contribute? The past feeling is powerful, but I need to look at the present facts. P. Pivot to possibilities. Mentally, you run through your options. Option A. Confront her publicly right now. High risk, likely destructive. Option B. Say nothing, seethe, and resent her and the team. Passive, self-destructive. Option C. Wait until after the meeting and speak to her privately. Option D. In the meeting, reassert your ownership skillfully. I'm glad you like the core concept I just presented, Sarah. Let's definitely explore the implementation details you're suggesting. Option E. Speak to the project manager after the fact to ensure your contribution is documented. Choose your action. You consult your values, professionalism, assertiveness, and maintaining a collaborative team environment. You decide that a combination of D and C is most aligned. You choose to calmly reassert yourself in the moment, option D, to establish ownership with the team, and then later, you decide to have a private conversation with Sarah, option C, to clarify expectations for the future. You engage mindfully, your tone firm but calm. You have controlled the narrative, defended your work professionally, and left the door open for a repaired working relationship. Part 5, The Path of Mastery, Cultivating Resilience as a Practice. Shifting from a reactive to a responsive life is not a one-time event, it is a lifelong practice of building mental and emotional muscle. It requires patience, self-compassion, and strategic training. 5.1 The Principles of Effective Practice. Start small, start safe. Do not begin by trying to use S.T.O.P and choose during a heated argument with your partner or a high-stakes meeting. Begin in low-stakes environments. Practice when you feel mildly irritated in traffic, when a store is out of your favorite product, or when a family member makes a minor annoying comment. Master the framework in the training gym before taking it into the championship fight. Consistency over perfection. You will not get this right every time. The goal is not perfection, it is progress. The amygdala has a head start of millions of years. Every single time you successfully pause, even if you still react poorly afterward, you are strengthening a new neural pathway. You are telling your brain, there is another way. Celebrate the small wins, the one time you took a breath instead of snapping, as monumental victories. Develop a preemptive mindset. Resilience is not just about how you recover from a trigger, it's also about your overall capacity to handle stress. This is built through foundational self-care. Adequate sleep, a tired brain is a reactive brain. The prefrontal cortex is highly vulnerable to sleep deprivation. Regular physical activity, exercise is a powerful regulator of the nervous system and helps metabolize stress hormones. Mindfulness and meditation, these practices are like a daily workout for your prefrontal cortex and your interoceptive awareness. They build the muscle of noticing your thoughts and feelings without immediately acting on them. Nutrition, stable blood sugar supports stable moods and cognitive function. 5.2 Navigating common pitfalls. The flooding effect. If you are already at a 9 or 10 on the emotional scale, your higher brain functions are likely offline. In this state, it is almost impossible to run through a cognitive framework. The only goal when flooded is physiological regulation. This is when you must use your stop and scan step to its fullest, literally remove yourself and engage in a calming ritual. Splash cold water on your face, breathe deeply for 5 minutes, go for a brisk walk. The goal is to lower the arousal level enough for your prefrontal cortex to come back online. Spiritual bypassing. This is the trap of using the language of mindfulness or spirituality to avoid legitimate emotions. I shouldn't be angry, I should be compassionate. This is a form of self-suppression. The S.T.O.P and choose method requires you to fully tune in and acknowledge the anger first. You cannot choose a compassionate response by bypassing your authentic feeling, you must move through it. The inner critic's assault. When you fail and have a reactive outburst, your inner critic may pounce. See? You're a failure at this. You'll never change. This is perhaps the most crucial moment for the framework. You must apply S.T.O.P and choose to your own self-judgment. S. Stop the spiral of self-criticism. T. Tune in. I'm feeling shame and disappointment in myself. O. Observe. I'm judging myself because I have a high standard for my behavior. This comes from a desire to grow. P. Pivot. What are my options? I can wallow in this, or I can learn from it. Choose. I choose to be compassionate with myself. This is a learning process. I will reflect on what happened, forgive myself, and recommit to the practice. Conclusion. The unfolding journey of the skilled conductor. The journey from being hijacked by surge mode to being guided by anchor mode is the very essence of personal growth and emotional maturity. It is the process of moving from a life lived by default, a series of predictable reactions to old triggers, to a life lived by design, where you are the author of your actions and the architect of your experience. Remember, the goal is not to create a life without storms. The goal is to build a sturdier ship. The S.T.O.P and choose method is not a magic wand that banishes difficult emotions, it is a navigational chart and a set of sailing skills. It is the compass that keeps you oriented towards your values when the emotional waves are high. Every time you pause before replying to a provoking text, you are building resilience. Every time you name your feeling of insecurity instead of projecting it as blame, you are building resilience. Every time you choose a difficult, honest conversation over a silent grudge, you are building resilience. This is not a destination you arrive at, but a practice you inhabit. With every conscious breath in a triggering moment, you are not just avoiding a regret, you are actively sculpting your brain, reinforcing the neural pathways of your wise self. You are moving from being a prisoner of your past to being the conscious creator of your future. In our next discussion, we will equip you with one of the most powerful tools for that crucial stop and scan step, the science of breath. We will delve into specific, accessible breathing techniques that can act as a direct dial to calm your nervous system, giving you the physiological stability needed to make the S.T.O.P and choose method even more effective. For now, I invite you to take this framework into your world. See it as an experiment. Pick one small tripwire and practice. Be patient and kind with yourself. The simple act of trying is a victory. If this exploration of your inner world resonates with you and you wish to continue building the tools for a more resilient, intentional life, please subscribe. We have so much more to explore together on this journey of mastering your inner world. Thank you for your time and your commitment to your own growth. I'll see you in the next video.